I'll go ahead and call this May 20th, 2021 meeting of the Sherburne County EDA to order. We'll go ahead and start with looking for an approval of the May 20th agenda, which is today's. Everybody got it in an email. Looking for a motion from anyone, and we do have Andy Voller joining us remotely as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 20th agenda.
Motion by Laura.
Second.
Second by Jared. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All right, that passes. All right, we'll move on to the approval of the April 15th EDA meeting minutes. Were there any changes there? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to approve those as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 15th meeting minutes as written.
Motion by Jared. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Molly. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed,
Aye.
same sign. Motion carries. All right. Oh, Rayanne just joined us. We're through all of our votes, Rayanne, so it's information only from this point on, it seems like, but we'll go ahead and move on.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rayanne. We'll go ahead and move on to item number 4, which is David Heyer from Deed. Dan, you get to introduce David. I saw he's with us online.
Yeah, Dave, we haven't had Deed come present to the EDA in several years, so we thought we'd invite David today, and I'll just turn it over to you, Dave.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks for inviting me to your meeting. I apologize for not getting there sooner than what I have today, but try to make up for it. As everybody probably knows, the state hasn't come to a budget as of May 17th, and we're back into special sessions. Hopefully by July 1st, we'll have a budget in place. If not, I think our biannual budget runs out June 30th, and I might be on hiatus after July 1st, depending on what happens with the state budget. So we'll see. Some other programs the state's running that I just wanted to give you an update on. The County Relief Grant Program wrapped up on last month in March. April 30th was a deadline to report all the activity in those grants. And every county in the state met that deadline. We only had one award that was flagged, and a county actually awarded a grant to a business that wasn't located within their county. That awardee paid that money back, and that money went back to the state, so that had been taken care of. For the Small Business Administration has the Restaurant Revitalization Program. That program has been very active. It's part of the ARP program. We had a notification yesterday that the revitalization program will be taking applications still until Monday, the 24th at 8 p.m. So if you have any restaurants in your community in Sherburne County that wants to take advantage of this, I would encourage them to do that before that deadline. And in addition to that, the Small Business Administration is also offering the Shuttered Venue Grants Program, and they're still taking applications for that program as well. We have a notification from Tina Smith's office, Senator Tina Smith's office, about the federal infrastructure program that the federal government's looking to implement. They are taking projects. If you want a project earmarked for in that grant or that piece of legislation, you have to connect with Tina Smith's office by Friday, tomorrow, May 25th at 5 p.m. with your information to be earmarked in the that budget appropriation bill. If you have any, if you need that contact information, you can reach out to me. I can provide that to you. We also received yesterday a notification from the EDA, the United States Economic Development Administration. They're seeking communities that are not directly impacted by a nuclear plant closure, like Monticello is, but communities that surround those areas that might feel an impact because of that. And I brought this up because you guys are being right across the river from Monticello. Sherburne County might be in a position to take advantage of and put in a grant award for that. I have that contact information if needed. I can provide that as well. Some of the other things that we're involved in with DEED right now is the Minnesota Rail Safety Improvement Grant Program. We call it MERCI for short, MRSI. We went through an application process this last couple months for rail improvement projects in the state of Minnesota. We had $4 million to award out. We came up with 6 new projects to meet those awards, and throughout Minnesota, there's a couple up north in the Duluth area, one out in Fergus Falls, one down in southwest Minnesota, and one in the Twin Cities. So I think we did a pretty good job of reviewing those applications and awarding those. We do have one partial award. We couldn't fully fund all of them. So the last one would get some partial awards, and that's out in western Minnesota as well. In addition to the Minnesota Rail Safety Improvement Program, the DEED has the TEDI program coming up, which is the Transportation and Economic Development Infrastructure Grant Program. There's going to be a webinar Tuesday, May 25th at 10 a.m. for business or for communities interested in learning more about the TEDI program. Then the applications for that, this grant round is due by August 27th at 4 p.m. In addition to the TEDI webinar, there's a webinar today about broadband. If communities are still working on broadband infrastructure build out, there's a webinar today at 10 a.m. From the broadband office for communities that are wanting to find out more information about broadband and how to tap into those funds. I know there's a large amount of money coming in from the ARP program, the American Recovery Program. So it might be an opportunity to take advantage of and try to expand our broadband network out if needs to. Sherburne County projects, we DEED sponsored or awarded Sport Tech in Elk River $182,000 in JCF awards for a $8 million expansion expansion project at their facility in Elk River, and they're going to create 85 jobs with that expansion. We did the open house not the open house, but a groundbreaking ceremony. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and it was very well attended. And it's a nice looking project. It'll be very beneficial for the city of Elk River. Princeton applied for and received a $575,000 BDPI grant for infrastructure in their community. That leaves us with $4.6 million to allocate in the BDPI program. And we're looking for more projects with communities that want to build out their infrastructure. With the new ARP money and if the federal government comes together with a plan on infrastructure, this might be a golden opportunity for communities to take advantage of the BDPI money and to do a matching grant to help pay for some of those costs of either expanding or building out new industrial parks for their communities, or tying into a community or a business that needs additional water capacity or sewer capacity for potential growth. So I think BDPI is one of those programs that's well funded and well received, and I think it should be taken advantage of as communities can. I know you guys aren't in Wright County, but it does. I think it impacts you quite a bit. The state offered advanced volumetrics out of Albertville, $175,000 in JCF awards and $450,000 in a MIF award. It's a $33 million project for new construction of a facility. They're building modular rooms for hotels and apartments. And once they move those, they put those together in a climate controlled environment, build them out, and then ship them off to whatever site it is, and then they assemble them on site. That's going to create 135 jobs in Albertville, which is right across the river from Elk River and Sherburne County. So I think you'll see some impact from that in Sherburne County. You might not get the tax revenue, but you might get some employees out of it. Project Orion, a project that we were working with a consultant out of Memphis, Tennessee. is on hold. It was an 832,000 square foot distribution center. Had some specific issues because of Minnesota's environmental policies. They'd have to do an environmental impact survey. That isn't the reason it's on hold. It's on hold right now. The equity company that was looking into it has put it on hold until they iron out some of the details. Project Envis, which is a large data center looking at sites in Minnesota. This is a resurrection of a project about 5 years ago that came through. It's going to be one of the largest, $1 billion project for Minnesota if we can land it. They are looking at a couple areas, one in Sherburne County and one in Stearns County, I believe it is. Actually, it's in Benton County. I'm sorry, Benton County. We are having a meeting with them this afternoon to do a follow-up. They've had some leadership changes, and we're trying to reconnect with the new leader on that project. So we'll have some information hopefully after the meeting this afternoon. Two other programs, IceCap and IceAge. IceCap was another data center that's on hold, and IceAge, which is a call center, was put on hold a couple weeks ago because of COVID. So we'll see what that, what those, when they come back and come back up, we'll let you know. Another program that we're running and trying to get updated is the Minnesota Shovel Ready program. The person that was running that has moved on to a different position, so I've taken over. We are trying to hire a consultant to do the Shovel Ready site or the Shovel Ready certification process. We put a RFP or a quick call proposal out on May 3rd, and businesses have until consultants have until Monday the 24th at 5 p.m. to apply or to respond. So we're hoping we'll get some responses on that and have a contractor or a consultant in place hopefully by July 1st to certify shovel-ready sites. I have one in Royalton that's waiting to go, and another one possibly in the metro area here that's on board to be certified as well. On the deed side, we haven't attended any trade shows because of COVID. A lot of them have been canceled. They are starting to warm back up and starting to gear back up. We have a number of them being scheduled for the end of the year. I think Deed's position right now is still a little hesitant to attend those for two reasons. One, because of COVID, of course, but the second is if we attend these, we want to make sure we get a big bang for the buck. They're fairly expensive to attend, and we want to see how the first ones roll out before we actually entertain our ability to attend. So we might not be attending any new trade shows until the first of the year when they get back on track and back rolling, and we're secure in what's happening with COVID. We did with our new supervisor, Catalina Valencia. We've had two site selector meetings where the first meeting was with representatives from each region in the state, the six regions, and Catalina met with the regional people and the site selectors and talked to each region had an opportunity to talk about their strengths and weaknesses and trying to get the site selectors familiar with the regions. We had a follow-up with that a couple weeks ago where each of us, our state representatives, the regional managers like myself, were able to sit down and have that conversation with the site selectors as well. And we made a couple of really good connections. We reconnected with a couple that are already from Minnesota. So that was good, but we've made some connections with some energy consultants that are looking for sites in Minnesota. We're going to do some follow-up with them and see if there's some opportunities that we can take advantage of as local communities and solar farms in the area. So we'll see how that works out. The Minnesota Marketing Partnership has a new marketing tool out there. You might want to take a look at it. We're taking constructive criticism about that. Some of the people, when it comes to the Minnesota Marketing Partnership, have strong opinions about what should be done, and we'll see how that comes out. But you're probably seeing some social media conversations, especially around LinkedIn. We're all encouraged to provide information on LinkedIn about this new marketing tool. So you might be seeing more of that popping up. We did get a breakdown of some of the ARP funds from the budget process, and it looks like the state's going to get $2.8 billion in funds, and some of that money can be reimbursed to the state for expenses during COVID and lost revenue. 2.1 billion for the local communities, 1.3 billion for school districts, 550 million for higher education, and 350 million for transit. So there's going to be some opportunities, and we're waiting at the deed level to find out what the state's going to offer the local agencies when it comes to these programs and what we're able to fund. So we have an idea what we'd like to do, but until we get the final go ahead, we're on hold on being able to fund some of the programs and start some new programs. So that's it from Deed. Dan or anybody, do you guys have any questions? I know I covered it pretty quick. I apologize if I'm too fast.
You mentioned that nuclear program, Dave. I'd like the information on that. If you could send me the contact information for the grant.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, that just came out yesterday, so I can definitely get you that.
Okay.
Any other questions for David? Look
One
like it.
question,
Oh, go
Mr.
ahead,
Chair.
Diane.
Yeah, so you were talking about the shovel-ready sites and getting that program back up and running, and you're looking to have someone go out and start certifying. Are the ones that were previously certified still in good standing then, or would they have to be recertified?
No, they're still certified. We did ask as part of the RFP or the quick call proposal, we did ask for an idea of what it would cost to reevaluate those sites, not to have them resubmit any information, but just to go over the existing paperwork to see if it's still up to speed and meets the industry standards, and if there's anything that needs to be reassessed or reevaluated. So that is one of the proposals that we put out. We're going to find out how much it's going to cost. It's not something that we're going to implement right away, but we're just trying to get an idea of what it would cost to go through those. There's, I think, 30, if I'm not mistaken, 34 sites with 39, or 34 communities with 39 sites that would have to be reviewed.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Ryan. Anything else for David? All right, doesn't look like it. Thanks for your time, David. Appreciate you popping in and giving us an update.
Thanks. I have a jump to another meeting, so if you don't mind, I'm going to take off. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. All right, we will move on to agenda item number 5, which is Bruce Saylor with Connexus, who needs no introduction.
It's gonna be tough to follow that introduction.
Well, I'm not sure the clicker's going to help you on that.
Yeah, I don't think I'll just nod. Thank you. And thanks, Tim, for the introduction. Again, my name is Bruce Saylor. I'm the Principal for Community and Economic Development with Connexus Energy. So this is a presentation that we've put together for a lot of our key stakeholders of our service territory, our key cities, our key counties that we serve. And it's been well received. It seems like everyone that we've presented, we've come back multiple times. So I apologize, Tim, you've seen this a couple times. Dan, you could probably do this in your sleep. So we'll just go through it if that's all right. So first, we'll just start with our service territory. We serve 7 different counties, or parts of 7 different counties. And our service territory goes all the way from Marine on St. Croix, all the way up to St. Cloud. Our total membership is about 138,000 members. Vast majority of those are residential members. We cover over 1,000 square miles of our service territory, and we serve over 70 different cities and townships throughout our service territory, and again, of 7 counties. And specifically with Sherburne County, it's 16% of our membership lives in Sherburne County, about 21,000 members. The revenue is about $38 million. We collect $250,000 approximately in property tax and $140,000 in franchise fees. And what's unique about Sherburne County is that it's served by 5 different electric utilities. Connexus Energy has the largest geographic area, but then we have East Central Energy on the north side of it, Elk River Municipal, Princeton, the little tiny spot in the upper right-hand corner, and then of course XL Energy, which has primarily service in the big cities along Highway 10. And one of the things that we do is really we partner with a lot of our key businesses in the area, and that's the same thing with Sherburne County. You know, if we look at a lot of the key businesses in Sherburne County, we also serve those same businesses, from Crystal Cabinets, Cargill, Phillips, Lisi, and of course Sherburne County is a big member of Connexus Energy, so we appreciate that. And what we do is, with our key account staff, each of these accounts, we try to visit at minimum twice a year, look at their energy profile, make sure that they're on the correct rate, but then also at the same time, we hear, you know, different feedback on things, what's going on. For example, Lisi, our key account rep that met with them at one time, asked, well, what's the cost to upgrade this transformer from this size to this size? So instead of just, you know, passing that on, he came back, talked to me. We got Sherburne County involved, we got Big Lake involved to find out that they were looking at possibly expanding either here in Sherburne County or in California. So together, collectively, we put our heads together, came up with a package, and luckily Lisi Medical expanded right here in Sherburne County, which is a win-win for everybody. So, but that's the same thing. When we go out and we hear businesses, what they're saying, we always, if it's not confidential information, we bring it back and just make sure that everybody is hearing the same message. So as a Connexus Energy, we're an electric cooperative, so we're nonprofit, so we're a little bit different than an investor-owned utility. So really our focus is really the community. They own us, members own us. So the members elect the board of directors that actually, you know, they run the organization. They basically come up with all the policies. Just in last year, we gave back $7.6 million in cash back. Means that any margin that's left over at the end of the year, we allocate that back. We've allocated over $130 million just in the last 50 years. And with this pandemic over the last year, what we've done is immediately we donated $30,000 to food shelves, $25,000 to small businesses, and then $13,000 for the Anoka Hennepin Educational Foundation, which helped get laptops and Wi-Fi to kids when they were doing all the remote learning. So I'm proud to work for an organization that's really so community-minded. And back in November of 2019, we formed a foundation for this cash back. And one of the challenges that we had, based on the cash back, what we do, how that model works is that, you know, whatever members we have, that leftover revenue that we have, we give it back. But if we can't find that member, we have to wait 7 years of trying to find them. And if that doesn't happen, we've got 2 options. We can either write the check back to the state of Minnesota, goes into the general fund, or we can donate it back to the community. And of course, we're going to donate it back to the community. Our challenge was, though, some years we'd have, you know, $1 million of cash back that we could go back into the community. Some years it was only $10,000. So it was a big swag. So what we did is we created a foundation to level that out. So now we have probably about $330,000 that should maintain us for the next multiple years. So it's a great way to plan ahead and move forward. And this is one area that whatever, you know, community need is out there, let me know, because we work with other nonprofits in the area, food shelves, child education and things like that. We don't necessarily have to serve that business. If it's for the greater good of Sherburne County, we'll do it. And one of the key principles we have is really the affordability. It's one thing to have a business model that you do all this, you do the community-minded things, but also you have to make sure that you're you're affordable in the community. And in 2021, we had a 2% decrease in our general commercial rate, which is great news for economic development. And it's great news during that pandemic when some businesses were struggling that we could actually lower their electric rate to move on. And on the residential side, we've had the 4th consecutive year with no rate increase, so we're pretty proud of that. And our residential rates still are anywhere between 2 to 4% that excel, which just happens to be the benchmark that we go after each year. The other key point that we have is innovation. Connects Energy was the first utility in the U.S. to install a utility-scale solar with battery storage. Some of the challenges that we've had before with solar is that, yes, when the sun's shining, you generate a lot of electricity, but boy, by 8, 9 o'clock at night, you know, when people are coming home from work and things like that, there was really no production. So we were able to combine solar and battery storage. In the picture in the upper right-hand corner is basically like a semi-trailer truck filled with batteries. It's great. We can charge the batteries when the sun's shining, and then we can discharge it when we need to lower our wholesale power rates. In addition to the innovation, we always look at employees to find cost savings opportunities. Just last year, the employees banded together and found different ways to save over $1.8 million. And then we have different programs. The peak time rebate, Wi-Fi thermostat program is saving about $1 million per year. Reliability, another one of our key standpoints that we have. We were rated #1 in the nation for perfect power based on a JD Power survey. So this is a perception survey. It's not reality. It's not the engineering numbers. However, when you go back and look at those numbers from an engineering perspective, we were the best in the Midwest, which we're happy about that. So on average, the Connects member can expect to experience an outage once every 3 years. The industry average is less than 1 per year. And Connexus is not Texas. I've got a slide at the very end that's going to talk about this. When we put this together, presentation that was right after the whole Texas freeze, and we can show you the great benefit of what we have here in the Midwest to make sure that doesn't happen again. So what's next? Again, we're looking at more pilots, different programs. EV subscription, electric vehicles is really taking off. It's taken some time to get there, but we're starting to see more influx on electric vehicles, so we're excited about that. Different mobile apps, and Sunflower 1 and 2 are 2 other solar campuses that we put together. It's just solar only right now, but they're all going to be battery ready in the future. So we've got our contact information if you ever need to get hold of us. And then we'll just end with the MISO market, which is a mid-continent independent system operator. And the reason why we have so much benefit here is that if you look on the map, if you look at Texas, it's really served by one geographic area. So it's not interconnected throughout the Midwest area. Where with the MISO market, we go all the way from Manitoba all the way down to Louisiana. So our grid is shared back and forth. And the nice thing about our MISO market is that it's winterized. It's designed to work when it's 40 below zero from the north end all the way down to the south end. And in Texas, you know, at first they were saying, oh, it's the renewables, the wind turbines that are causing all the problems. Well, that wasn't the problem. Their wind turbines aren't designed to run in freezing temperature. And even their gas turbines weren't designed to run with freezing temperatures. So with the MISO market, we are backed up. It's fortunate that Xcel's in there. Connections Energy, Great River Energy is in there. So it's just a nice system to have backup if that ever happens again. Sounds like it probably only happens once every 100 years, but could happen sooner than that. So with that, I'll turn it back to Tim.
All right, thanks, Bruce. Any questions for Bruce on his presentation or stuff that wasn't covered?
Yes, I have one question about the electric charging stations. Is that something that you guys are trying to get any more of those in the area?
that we're trying to get some in the area.
Do you guys do anything with putting more charging stations in around the area? Because I do hear that complaint. I know some people that have them think it's really hard to find some charging stations around this area.
Yeah, and that's part of it, you know, even I know Elk River Municipal, they've got a few chargers, public stations. You know, we'll work with anybody that wants to put one in, at least do an analysis to find out if it makes sense. One of the benefits of Sherburne County and a lot of Anoka County is that pretty much a lot of the commuters are driving out someplace else. So 80% of their charging for their electric vehicle is actually at home. So, you know, they can go to work, hopefully charge at work, come home and then charge there. But we're always looking for opportunities. I know, you know, the main interstate, the main freeways are trying to get at certain mileage points that they have fast chargers. So it's coming. Good question.
Anything else for Bruce? Any questions online, Andy or Ryan? All right,
No questions.
thank you, Bruce, appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, which Mark Schneider is gonna give us a CMRP Framework 2030 update.
Thank you, Commissioner Dolan and members of the EDA and those present online. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a Sherburne County Senior Planner, and it seems like just yesterday, but I think in 2019, Commissioner Danielowski recommended me to be a liaison between the partnership and our newest venture, Regional Planning and Economic Development Project. So I've been doing this for a number of years, and through a pandemic, it's been an interesting process. So jump right into this. So what is the CMRP? So CMRP is the Central Mississippi Planning Partnership, Central Mississippi Regional Planning Partnership, and I can't forget that key term, regional. The mission of CMRP is to develop and implement compelling region vision framework that guides local decisions through collaborative planning, growth, and development that benefits both individual jurisdictions in the region as a whole. I think that last sentence is really critical for this partnership because it's made up of a lot of individual communities, so that we're finding benefit for the individual jurisdictions that are participating in this program. And the communities that are participating in it are the City of Becker, City of Big Lake, City of Monticello, townships of Becker, Silver Creek, Monticello, and Big Lake, and then Sherburne and Wright County. CMRP has kind of an interesting history. Commissioner Danielowski actually helped me kind of shape some of this history because going back to 2007, there was a extensive conversation about, well, there were some activities that occurred that dealt with development and pressures from Monticello. Monticello actually looked at annexing across the river because they had concerns about development and the impacts on traffic. So for a number of years, this group got together, Monticello and Big Lake Township, to discuss land development, happenings, and how those might impact Highway 25. But if you look at that period of time, it's 2007 to 2015. Well, development was very low. There wasn't a whole lot of activity occurring. Well, fast forward to 2016, development is starting to pick up, and they start picking up additional people that have interest in this group. And the group expanded from Big Lake, Monticello, and Big Lake Township to a broader group, which included Becker, both Sherburne and Wright County at that point in time, and Becker Township. So that is when the coalition, the Trunk Highway 25 Coalition formed. And I think a lot of people might be familiar with that name because they did a lot of work. And one of the projects that they tackled in 2018 was a transportation study. And this really kind of got the wheels spinning on a bridge crossing. It always has been identified that Trunk Highway 25 is a bottleneck and that the challenges of development on Sherburne County side, the impacts it brings to Monticello, or getting businesses back and forth, residents back and forth. So in 2018, they commissioned a study to evaluate those transportation needs. That study wrapped up, and it did really, find support and need for a second river crossing. So as the coalition kind of expanded on that, issue that has been identified or kind of codified with some statistics in the study done by SRF, in 2019, the coalition made an executive decision about a river crossing in the future of how this would impact the region and the members within. And they started reaching out to MnDOT and Federal Highway. And they provided us some guidance on this, revealing that it wasn't just transportation alone that was going to get us a bridge crossing, that there were things that we could control regionally that impact, traffic and development. So that is what basically kicked off this land use and economic development project. Framework 2030 is when that's when I got pulled in. So I think the history is a little bit interesting because I think that one point I would make about CMRP or the Highway 25 Coalition or the joint group from 2007, they identified that transportation is kind of impacted by development. So how do we develop? And for a long time, all our communities were doing very silo work. We weren't really communicating real well with each other, what was happening, and what land use plans, and we didn't have a shared vision. So this is the focus planning area of Framework 2030. So the boxed areas of Becker Township, Big Lake Township, Monticello, and Silver Creek is kind of the main focus area. But a lot of the data that we're pulling, a lot of the information that we're gathering is countywide. So on the lower right-hand side, you'll see, insert map that shows both Sherburne, complete Sherburne and Wright County. So when we're going to get data to analyze the economic condition of this region, the housing demands, the development needs, we really have to look at a broader region and how we fit within St. Cloud and the metropolitan area of the Twin Cities. So Framework 2030 is a regional land use and economic plan. And it started in 2019, and it's been an extensive project and really kind of got bogged down with some of the stakeholder engagement. It got tricky to do this work during the pandemic, but we're still, we moved along. And I think the key thing that I want to point out here is, what Framework 2030, this land use and economic plan, was intended to do. It was intended to create a unified set of regional goals, policies, and priorities that the partner communities commit to honoring, and so it's not a comprehensive plan, but it's priorities. It's a vision. I always thought about, it's kind of getting us flowing in the right direction, kind of like our river that goes between us. It goes one direction. We should be looking at how that flows. So, and establish guidance and development with partner communities, how they can refine local approaches, policies, plans, projects, and regulations over time to harmonize them with the regional direction. So it's really trying to bring a little bit of focus and identify this region. Commissioner Dolan, when I initially brought this to a workshop with the county board, he talked about trying to create a gravitational mass. We want to be a big, if this region wants to further develop, we have to have a gravitational mass so we don't just get absorbed by the two communities on either side. That this area, we'll have to find out if this area does have a real center mass that can, make us stand out from the Twin Cities metropolitan area or the St. Cloud area. So I thought that was a neat way of kind of putting this into perspective. And so framework structure really starts from the real broad and it gets down to the specific. So early on, we did all our technical analysis. We did all the analysis of all the region's comprehensive plans, land use studies, park plans, transportation plans, and we collected all that and sent it off to our planning group, Planning Next, who analyzed that and started looking at what this region's priorities were. What were some of the goals that they were shooting for? And so through that, analysis of existing plans and land use records of all these surrounding communities, we basically found everything we could from all our communities and created this extensive library of comprehensive plans, land use plans that goes back, probably 20 plus years. And it goes from, pretty much every community that's in that geographical study area. And so we built this, this is a graphic to kind of give an example, to provide people what framework will look like. So it starts off with a very general statement, and that's our vision statement. And we had to develop that. And our vision statement comes from all the steps that we've brought up to this point. So everything in this wheel is a step that the partnership has control of and has impact on. So we do our vision. Then we talk about our values. What are the general community commitments to the partnership in the region as a whole? And then we get into a little bit more specific, the strategies. And the strategies kind of got fleshed out through our different rounds of engagement. So we had 2 rounds of engagement. A lot of times these projects might have 1 round engagement where we go out to our stakeholders and ask a couple questions. Send out the surveys. You guys have gotten the surveys over the years, and I know, or over the last year. And I know this group has participated. And so our stakeholders are helping to shape our strategies. So the strategies really came out of our first 2 rounds of engagement. and feedback from our partnership. And now we're getting into the real specifics of actions. So again, broad to very specific. So in the last month, we recently adopted a vision statement for the partnership. And this is it. This had a lot of collaboration. This vision statement had been out there and had been reviewed for the last 3 months by the public, by the partnership, and this is what it's been refined to. We, the communities of Central Mississippi River Regional Planning Partnership, are a confident and dynamic region. We are made prosperous through our network of assets and proactive leadership, made vibrant and vital and connected, through our connected places, and made home by our caring people and communities. So from that vision statement, we have to find ways to demonstrate that or promote that. And what we've done is develop key strategies. And the key strategies focused around land use, economic growth, and interconnections. And so each of these are the broad key categories. And we had to develop specific strategies to help accomplish or to promote these strategies. So with economic growth, we adopted the following strategies, we being the partnership. The first one is expand quality and variety of employment and opportunities. The second one related to economic development is increase the pool of skilled labor in the region. Number 3, network the response to economic disruption. And number 4, measure the impact and actions locally and regionally. So they're still kind of in that broad sense, but these eventually get whittled down also. So these are going to eventually form into action items, but I'm going to go through all the strategies first, just so you can see the strategies that CMRP has adopted. So land use, leverage the region's unique parks, trails, and natural resources, promote life cycle housing. That one has always been kind of interesting to me because it's that full circle of housing. It starts out, maybe where you go when you first starting your job, but not just there, when you've actually succeeded and you want to have that large property, or that transition to, hey, I'd really like a nice apartment, I don't want to maintain my property, to patio homes, to senior housing. It's a full circle. And that's something that we've identified that, is a big priority. And it's one of the things that I think that we can provide some focus on. And then invest in placemaking, getting our, focus on our downtowns, the things that make this region special. And then 4, improve regional communication, support local planning and land use management. That one's kind of close to home for me because the thing that I've really enjoyed out of the partnership, or that I've gotten out of this partnership, is some of those post-conversation meetings after the meeting, where I'm talking to, whether it's a commissioner from Wright County or a staff member from Monticello, and finding out about little projects they got going on, maybe things that I've worked on that I can share some of my knowledge or some of my resources. We can talk back and forth about that stuff. So opening up that lane of communication for the partnership and making sure that we're all talking. And the last one is interconnections, and that kind of ties into that last strategy that we just touched on. Create a clear and compelling region identity to advance collaborative work. That goes back to Commissioner Dolan's statement about trying to identify this mass. Do we have enough mass here? And I think creating a clear and compelling regional identity helps us establish that. Enhance connections between our communities, share talent, time, and information, and continually address regional vulnerabilities and emerging opportunities. So those are key strategies. We have 12 key strategies now that the board has adopted that came from the stakeholder engagement work that we did, that came from the technical analysis and plan research. So it all is kind of building to something. Okay, what are we going to do? What is this group CMRP going to do? And that gets us to actions. On April 29th, CMRP held action planning workshop where the partner members had the opportunity to review, revise, recommend, and elevate a list of actions and key strategies. We did it in this boardroom. We did it online. We find ways to do this stuff. So we put the boards up there, and we have all these strategies. We always have these bumps in the road. Kyle, our consultant, once he forgot all the print off little Post-its, so he's writing stuff down. But we had an opportunity to put these boards up, and it's planners, it's administrative staff, it's administrators, it's the elected officials, and we're looking at these action items for the strategies that we just went through. So each strategy has a list of action items on there. And we can look at those and we can say, hey, is this a subcategory of another one? Or is this a strategy that we really don't want to, the partnership to put a lot of effort in? And it was I thought a productive meeting. So that's where we're currently at. And we're now trying to take the feedback that we got about those action items that the partnership may want to tackle. And that's going to come to our next meeting. So we took that and prioritized, and people were able to have feedback and have conversations about which of these action items would help advance the partnership's vision. And just real quick example of these, facilitate the expansion of high-speed internet access across the region. It kind of goes without saying, but I mean that these are the things that the partnership says, hey, this is an action item that we want to support. These are examples. They haven't been adopted or approved. I just wanted to give you a little context of real broad down to the specific. Maintain a regional industrial land inventory map. Present annual reports on housing trends and development. Develop a regional park website. So all these action items are things that the partnership is now going to see, that they've had the opportunity to refine and elevate. And at our next meeting on May 27th, we're going to be getting our first full view of the Framework 2030 plan. And it's going to have final presentations on the background analysis, all that technical work that was done early on. And if you guys saw the placemats that we did for a little while, we were doing these little, when the pandemic got pretty hard, we were trying to push out little bits of information. They were just graphics of here's what's going on in the region, whether it was connected to housing, land use, jobs, transportation. It was just a whole assortment of those. So present the final background analysis, the review of all of our stuff, all the technical information, present the final visions and strategies. And then we're going to be talking about the draft implementation, the action items, the schedule, and the priority. So this project that, from the inception seemed like such a, where are we going? What's our goal? What's our priority here? Was intended to be very broad because we wanted feedback from our stakeholders. We wanted feedback from a lot of, not just, the cities. We wanted it from the rural townships. We wanted to cover a full spectrum, eventually get us down to these key action items that partnership can help promote. So what we'll be looking at in May 27th is, prioritizing and scheduling these action items. Are these the right action items for CMRP? And once that is established, we'll be making a final vote on that action item on that, and then provide feedback on when should we start tackling some of these items. As our elected officials say, these are some of the priorities that we'd like to see for the partnership. Now this is our timeline. How do we measure, these items? And so I'm somewhat excited about it because we are really getting to that end. The project got bogged down significantly during the cold months in Minnesota, the election cycle in the cold months. It got really hard to do this work. It was hard to get the critical feedback that we needed from our stakeholders. And so what will happen is this plan will be hopefully adopted, agreed upon on June 24th. And then at that point, we're going to start pushing it out to communities and start really promoting this effort of CMRP. And the last thing I'd say is, we've had a great group of consultants supporting us through the way. We do have a pretty effective website that provides, live links to our meetings. You get the agenda. You can go back and look at all the historical meetings, the recordings of the meetings. So there is a really good, location to go find out anything that's going on with this current project, Framework 2030, or CMRP. So hopefully CMRP has some great things in the future, and maybe I won't be as involved as that going forward, because it's been an interesting ride. So appreciate your time today. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions or comments, but
Thanks,
happy
Mark.
to troubleshoot that.
Anyone have any questions for Mark? Andy or Rayanne, anything online?
Nothing here.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And as Mark said, both myself and Rayanne have been pretty involved with this from the beginning, and we kind of made a point to make it as transparent and as involved with the community as we could. And that website has literally every decision we've ever made, every video of every meeting, and some really robust economic data that Ninigrit Partners put together through the whole process. So some of you guys might find value in that. It's broken down into nice infographics, but at the same time, there's more robust reports that are 13, 14 pages long that really get into like the demographics, employment, housing, all of that stuff at the countywide scale. So, but I appreciate all your work, Mark. Thanks for the update. Dan, general update.
I'm going to start with the ARP update. We did get some guidance last week, so I'm just going to do a quick summary of the programs that affect economic development. There you go. So Sherburne County is set to get $18.9 million. And if you remember CARES, we got about 12.5. So this is significantly more than we got last year. And we do have more time to spend it. It has to be spent between now and 2024. So we have about 3.5 years. So we can be a little more strategic about our decisions. One half of it will arrive. I thought it would be here by now, but we think it'll be here this week. And then another half will arrive next year, about a year from now. These are the allowable uses, and we're going to focus on the economic impacts today. There are a lot more expanded uses compared to the CARES program that was issued last year. So here's some potential use buckets for the Economic Development Authority is business and nonprofit relief. We probably are going to do another program this year. We'll probably kick it off in July. We're working on the parameters right now, but we really want to target it to industries that were really affected by COVID, not just someone that had a negative impact, but we want to tie it to COVID. And then we really want to expand our entrepreneur lab. For our new members out there, we do have an entrepreneur lab on our website that offers free advice. We contract with the Rural Ideas Network. It's industry experts that walk businesses through issues they're dealing with. And we really want to tie those two programs together. And then we might get involved in housing this year. We've never really done that as an EDA. But we are going to work with the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency and see if there's a way we can partner. We do get millions of dollars for first-time home buyers from the state of Minnesota. Is there a way we can expand that program a little more? And then another focus is going to be broadband. And I'll warn you now, our June EDA meeting will be heavily focused on broadband. We're doing a study right now. I did email that out to everybody last week. So whatever you can do to disperse that, we'd really appreciate it. We've had tremendous response from residential, but we're struggling on the business side. We've only had a handful of businesses. So whatever you can do to talk to your neighbors and get more results, because the more data we get, the better decisions we can make. Here's a map. The new guidelines state they really want us to focus on those blue areas up there. Those are the underserved 25 and 3 and below. And actually, Laura and I are going to meet right after the meeting today to see how RVIG and the county can partner, but we are meeting with other providers as well. So we're going to try to fill in a lot of those gaps. One of the things the guidelines did say that was a little bit of a surprise is they do expect 100 download and upload speed. So that is a pretty high rate to meet. I know a lot of our areas are not in that type of service area, but in talking to providers, they feel that's something we can meet. Like I said, the market survey is underway. And we are working with Finley Engineering on putting some of these maps together for us. They're actually going to lead a county board discussion in June. So then we'll meet that same week right after that. So a lot of those discussions will move into this group. In the past, we've talked about forming a broadband committee countywide. So maybe that's something we could pick up after our June meeting once the data's out there as well. So our next steps is we do want to partner with our cities, schools, and townships. We are going to be setting up meetings with those entities to see how they're spending their money. We're going to develop some business relief guidelines, like I said, and hopefully that we'll have that program up and running in July. And then we're going to study the results of our broadband and make decisions on how to proceed next with the broadband. So that's a very quick 3-minute update, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more details for you in June, but I did want to give you some kind of guidelines of how the county is looking forward, pushing these dollars out to the business community.
Thanks, Dan. Any questions or comments for Dan? ARPA funds?
Nope.
All right, thanks, Dan. And I do, just to this group in general, I want to make sure that if you see or hear or just yourself have an idea of how those funds might be utilized that you want us to vet out, or you don't need to come to staff or this group with some well-executed plan. Just if you have a general idea or an inkling on how those could be impactful in the community, make sure you bring that forward, and we'll do the lifting behind it. But we want to make sure that, you know, like Dan said, we got 3 years now to use these funds. Before we had 3 months, and we had to kind of put the hammer down and get that rolled out. Now we can be a little more deliberate. And to me, this time it feels like it's less about spending the money and it's more about investing the money. and things that'll make long-term impacts. So I want to make sure that we get as much feedback as possible and people are okay throwing those ideas against the wall. So thanks for that update, Dan. Any other business from anyone, whether online or in the room here before we wrap up?
I just want to mention, this is our last meeting where we'll have WebEx. We're going to go to in-person meetings starting in June. The county board did pass a resolution on Tuesday that, we'll go back to the original statutes that if you do are online, you have to post notice differently. So this will be our last meeting where we allow this.
Yep, getting back to normal, slowly but surely. Thanks for that note, Dan. All right, our next meeting is on June 17th, right here. And without anything else, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thanks, everyone.